John or Roy?
These are my differences. You know, from my $2. Yeah, but you should always, I mean, I have no problem with the swipe card because I had a credit card machine from this clothing line that I had, so I took it from there. That's what they have something, and what they want them is their wage. But I mean, even the ticket counter thing is because, well, you know,
Free advertising.
who knows which way right? I mean, well, it's like you trust that many, and like,
You've been there. I think we're on the air, everybody.
I think they can tell you, like I have one stand next to me that I probably eliminate because well, in Moines, and about a double in house.
We're live right now, so it's 5 o'clock.
Hey, how are you today?
Will the Des Moines Park and June 24th, please come to order. Rebecca, will you please call the roll?
Nolan.
Here.
Club.
Here.
Facto.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Scavo.
Here.
Feltner.
Here.
Boson.
Here.
Simonson.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Can we take a look at the agenda for the meeting this evening? Are there any additions or changes or approved as shown? We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll move approval.
All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
I forgot my packet.
Let's look at the minutes from the May 27th meeting.
I move the minutes.
I don't.
Why?
Are there some corrections?
Oh, nothing important.
No,
No, I'm kidding.
my name was left off last month. Sorry.
Well, speak up. How would you like to amend the minutes?
I would like to amend them with showing me as
Insert.
president.
Oh, okay.
May I have a second for,
Second for Mr. Scavo.
to approve the minutes as amended? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to the director's report.
Thank you. Before Richard Brown, as he makes his way up here, I just want to make an announcement for all of you that haven't heard. We've promoted Richard Brown to the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, so if you wouldn't mind congratulating him with all of us on our team, I want to tell you, he's done great work. He's been with the city since, well, the Parks Department since 2003, and he's done great work with us. He's done many projects from McHenry Park to the trail system we have today, so we're quite confident in his skills to be a great Assistant Director.
Richard, congratulations from all of us.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
So this will be the last time you see me at these meetings. Did you know it's on Beaverdale Park?
Chair Nolan, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Richard Brown, Assistant Director. Tonight, I will be covering the Did You Know for Beaverdale Park. Did you know Beaverdale Park is in the northwest quadrant of the city of Des Moines? It is near Ashby Park and several of our small neighborhood parks that we have on the north side of Des Moines. I just wanted to give you this little bit of reference map to see where that kind of sits within our system and how it kind of relates to the rest of the park and open space system. Beaverdale Park started out originally when that portion of Des Moines was platted. It was part of Kingman's Orchard plat. When it was platted, the area that is now Beaverdale Park was purchased by Eva Philpotts in 1919 from Martha Kingman. The Philpotts constructed a house there near the current park entrance site, and the area really became known as Philpott Park, even though it wasn't a publicly owned site at the time. In 1923, Eva gave the equity in her property to the city of Des Moines, but with the establishment that it should be a city park. In 1925, the city actually was able to acquire the property. It took some time to actually take possession of it due to encumbrances and other issues related to the city taking title out of that. So it wasn't until 1932 that the city actually took possession of it. And in 1933, the house was removed from the site, and we were able to find a 1940 map here. While it's a little bit hard to read, Philpott Park, which is known as Beaverdale, there we go. is right here. And this was part of the 1940 comprehensive plan map and was a park at that time and had been a park since the 1930s. Also, as kind of digging this up, we actually found that Eva and her husband are both buried in Glendale Cemetery thanks to our fantastic new system that allows us to search all our cemetery records and where people are buried within the system. So we were able to find that. Beaverdale Park today is located at 3333 Adams Avenue, is 25 acres, includes a park, playground, an open air shelter, which you can see the inside of the photo here, has restrooms and a parking lot. Additionally, it has an open play field, picnic areas, some very nice oak, woodland, and forests that kind of buffer most of the park. And the interurban trail runs from the northeast to the southwest of the park and provides a connection up to the park itself. Give you a little perspective from a map view of what the park looks like. Here's Beaverdale Park. The interurban trail runs from the northeast up here to the southwest. It has a small connection up to Adams Avenue here. The park is about 25 acres in size. Only a small portion of it is actually used for active recreation at the very southwest corner here. We have the playground, restroom building, the open air shelter is actually up in the woods here, and then the open play field and a parking lot here. Something of interest here is there's actually a private driveway that accesses through the park like so, and actually has a house back up here in the very corner of it. So it's something that was always been there prior to the park being a city park as well, and it has continued to remain there as well.
Is it still lived in, Richard?
Yes, yep, it's an occupied house. It's a very nice house up there, kind of nestled in the woods behind the park. And then just a few photos that we'll finish up with. Here's what the playground, the swings, and the restroom building look like here. Here's the open shelter. It dates from the 1930s and then the WPA era, but we haven't found actually any photographs of the history of it being constructed or soon after it was constructed. And finally here, just give you an idea of what the oak, woodland, and forest look like through the park. There's some very gorgeous, large, mature trees up in this park, and it's a great opportunity. The day I was out here, there was actually a bunch of people just hanging out, playing Frisbee. There was someone out suntanning in the area, so it provides a nice opportunity for some just open space within the park itself. And with that, I would conclude, but I'd also like to make a note for anyone here or anyone that may be watching us on TV. We do have gaps sometimes in our history of these parks, and we're always looking for more information. So if you have old postcards, people that have old photographs of the area or the neighborhoods or neighborhood associations around that time, we'd certainly welcome it. Also, we weren't able to find within our records actually when it became Beaverdale Park. So at any point from any of our parks, we would be happy to take any history you have, either photos or information about them. Any questions?
Great. This is actually starting to find its way to the media. I did a piece today with Andy Fales that will play at 10 o'clock tonight on the history. Not only the historic panels we're putting out in the parks that we have done at Evelyn K. Davis, McHenry, and Sargent Park, but these presentations online. So I guess with his help as well as your help and the public, that if they want to give us the materials that Richard noted, we would gladly take those and make copies of them and give them back so we can continue this great piece here.
Yeah, we had actually a citizen show up, and I think I maybe mentioned this before, showed up to one of our Grandview Park meetings and said, I have a great collection of historic photographs from across the city. And he actually brought them in to us, let us scan over 200 old historic postcards that were from all of parks all throughout the entire city of Des Moines. So just even little things like that have been really a great resource for us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Fun, too.
Next is a little update on our National Park and Recreation Month that we do the bridge event. And upcoming here is Stacy from our marketing division. And I wanted to tell the board that one of the things we're doing is we're working on some staff development. We want to give people other opportunities that don't necessarily get to come to the board and present and work on public speaking. And so I know she'll do just a fine job, but this is her first time. So welcome, Stacy.
Chair Nolan, members of the Park and Recreation Board, I'm Stacy Lockey, marketing intern, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our third annual National Park and Recreation Month Bridge event to be held on July 12th from 7 a.m. to noon on the Court Avenue Bridge. And there's a short video I'd like to show you. How do I make it? It wants to.
celebrate National Park and Recreation Month with us, Saturday, July 12th on the Court Avenue Bridge from
Sorry about that.
How's it going so far, Stacy?
All right.
Here we go.
So we want you to help us celebrate National Park and Recreation Month along with our partners, the Friends of Des Moines Parks, B-Cycle, Pickleball Iowa, Greater Des Moines Soapbox Association, the Iowa Cubs, Heritage Carousel, the Des Moines Rowing Club, Hard Charge, the National Guard, and the Des Moines Police Department. Some of your favorite activities are going to be returning, such as basketball, aquatics, soccer, yoga at the HubSpot, and many more. And then we're also adding in some new activities. You can check out and learn about our buildings and trade staff, the Access Advisory Board, and play some new games such as bags and flag football. Any questions?
For those of you that are new board members, this is a great event. It's a captive audience, as you know, on a very conservative figure. We estimate at least 10,000 people come through on a bad weather day, up to 30,000 people, which is the farmer's market estimate on what they have for a good attendance. We'd run from 7 to noon that day, so we come on out. We have a role for all of you to help too if you want to participate.
7 to noon, right?
I talked with most of you when I made my calls, and some of you hadn't decided yet if you can attend that day, but if you'd get back to me and we can let Jen know who will be there and sort of what time and if we need any more people involved, so.
We try to make your role as board members very easy, just to come and go as you need to go and just kind of talk with elected leaders and the public as they make their way through and what the value of what we do is. So.
The amazing thing, when you're on the bridge, people really have no idea how much the Parks Department does, and it's always fun to share some of our wonderful activities and experiences, so it's a good time to have. So I hope you can all join us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.
Next, Ron is going to make his way up here to talk about the Municipal Service Center Phase 1. Again, for those that may not know on our board, the city's invested in a program to regionalize our facilities that are internal here from different departments into one eventually. The only one that's funded right now is for Phase 1, which is for Parks and Recreation, and then a few other smaller details that Ron will talk about. We thought it's important to tell you that this is coming up. We'll be making a move here in the near future. All of our offices, except for community centers and Marlene's cemetery operation at Glendale, will be moving to one facility, which is very important because we've always been across the city in many different locations for park maintenance functions, recreation functions. So now we'll be able to collaborate into one building and be some efficiencies on equipment sharing and all those good things that come together when you share one facility. So.
Chair Nolan, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Ron Ward, Parks Manager. As Ben said, we are in the process of, they're in the process of finishing up the Municipal Service Center. And this map shows, if I can find the mouse, I can't find it. It shows up on here, it doesn't show up there. That it shows the construction kind of in the lower middle of that slide, and to give you a perspective, the main street that it shows on to the west of it would be Southeast 14th, and then you can see where they're just west of that. You can see where the MLK or the Southeast connector is built to at that point when this picture was taken. So that'll run right by the north side of the Municipal Service Center. So then where you can see the construction there, you can see the parking lot and the building. Scott Street is just to the south of it, and then 1 block south of that is Maury.
A good landmark for many of us
is
know that
the
there was a fire that happened right there at the corner of Southeast 14th. There's a white roof building, there's a brown building. The white roof is our current operations right now.
It's the Lomar
which is
building
an
that we use.
interim stage for us,
Yeah.
and then that's the burnt down building. And just to the right of the burnt down building, you can see where the parking lot starts to be built there, and right next to the parking lot to the right of that is the new building.
Unrelated, is that MLK coming up?
Yep.
Yes.
Where's that going?
It's going all the way to 30th,
Which one?
to Southeast 30th.
It'll pass our building.
Yeah, it'll go right by the building. And that, eventually, that'll be the access to the building. Scott Street will be closed, and the access will either be from MLK or it'll be from 15th Street, Southeast 15th. And the actual address is 1551 East MLK. This is a picture of the building looking to the east. So this end of the building is where the offices will be. It's 2 stories. The Park and Rec office will be in the first floor, and then there's meeting rooms and such on the second floor on that end. This is a picture of it from looking at it from the east end of the building, which is where the garage doors are to go into the bay where all the vehicles will be parked. This is a picture then standing on, there's a mezzanine that goes all the way around this big open bay where all the vehicles will park, and that's where storage is. And this is standing on that, looking back towards those garage doors.
Hey, Ron, before you change the picture, where the right garage door is open, you can see a big white tank. Just kind of a neat thing to point out to you is that the building was designed to be very efficient and to be very green in today's standards. That will catch the rainwater from the roof. We will use that to water flower areas in the city, so just.
Yeah, it's a 2,000 gallon tank, so it'll capture, like Ben said, it'll capture rainwater, and then if it overfills, then it goes to storm sewer. And if we're in dry conditions, there's a water valve right there too that we can fill our trucks right there. But the building is projected to be platinum LEED certified. Then this is a picture of, this is the space that'll be the Park and Rec offices. And it's really cool that with all the windows, when you're in there looking out those windows, you're looking right towards the Capitol building, and then you can also like 801 Grand. So once that burned out building's gone and MLK's done with the landscaping, it's going to be a really nice view looking out the windows. And moving in there, some of the things, well, before this, let me go back one just so that's not on there. But it's a $15 million project, and it's phase 1. And besides Park and Rec moving in there, so it'll be the administration, it'll be the planning division, the recreation division, and the parks division. The only things that aren't going to go there is cemeteries and Grays Lake, but everything else will be there. And they're also going to be, traffic and transportation is going to have their signal shop, their parking meter shop, and then their paint division. And engineering is going to have their survey and division and their test lab that they test like the concrete and asphalt and stuff in projects around the city. So anyway, so the park shops are going to be moving in there. So that'll include the natural resources crew that's currently working out of this park shop at Ewing Park, and those are just 2 pictures of that. The ornamental crew, which works out of the Pioneer Park shop, which there's a couple pictures of that. So you can see some of our buildings are getting kind of dated. The grounds, or the park crew, which works out of the Union Park shop. And then in that map picture it showed, this is the building that Ben pointed out with the white roof. This is the park maintenance facility temporary building that we've been in for about a year and a half, and formerly was Lomar, was the a distribution center that was there, and we all just call it the Lomar building. It's easier. But housed in there right now is all the trades and the heavy equipment crew, and then there's some offices in there that some of the rest of the park staff uses, and those are just a couple pictures of that building.
Are you keeping that Lomar building?
We are, and I work with the city manager. One of the things you find out really quick when you're in charge of city operations for building is that there's no shortage of storage needs from the city, because 13 city departments, we have to manage our storage needs. It seems like every time we finally get a building like this, we sell it for economic development purposes. We spent significant dollars bringing that building up to code to even just be a storage facility. So we're not quite sure even for phase 1 we'll get all of our stuff under roof. As you can imagine, as a taxpayer, you want to put all your equipment under roof that you can. Can't get it all under the roof, but the more we can, it'll extend the life of that equipment. So we'll keep that.
Yeah.
We would have to get a really sweet offer for us to want to sell.
Yeah, and And the different park shops I showed, we're going to be taking down some of those buildings. Each one of those facilities, we're going to be keeping one of the buildings there, like one of the best buildings, because we think, until we get everything in the MSC and we get used to working out of there, we're going to need some off-site storage. And some of it, just logistic-wise, might work out better where we have some supplies stored at some different places around the city instead of having to always come back to here. So, is there any other questions?
So mid-August move-in
Yeah.
for the administrative offices,
And then mid-September for
field
the
staff.
field staff.
And so we'll, at some point, do a ribbon cutting ceremony with the council as well as all of you folks to dedicate the building and have a little bit of an open house. And we'll invite you all to that.
What becomes of the old building?
Oh, right now, that's a city building that has a IT hub in it, which serves not only all the traffic signals, but the 911 for fire and police. So right now, the police are working with the county dispatch and city dispatch to talk about, could they move into there? Would be a great spot. It's difficult for us to move that because of that hub. In fact, we got a number just to move the hub, it's $100,000, so it's not a big incentive for us to move out of there. Even to lease it, we have to have 24/7 access to make sure if something goes down, we can keep 911 going. So it looks like at this point, that will be the best option for us, is to get those two entities together in there.
And the furniture that's in that building, some of it's going to go to update the office furniture at the community centers and at the municipal cemeteries. And then the rest of it is probably going to be stored at the Pioneer Columbus. There's a wing of Pioneer Columbus that's empty right now, and we're going to put that in there in case we need it somewhere. So, but other than that, everything in the MSC is going to be all brand new. All the office furniture, all the workbenches and shelving and cabinets in all of the different shop spaces. So I was just in there again today, and it's impressive.
Yes. And just remember, the city hired a consultant to do a workspace study for the entire city, and we were deemed the most bang for your buck because our buildings were in terrible shape, and we had the greatest amount of incentive to bring us together as for efficiency purposes. So look forward to what happens, I guess, here in the next few months.
And so exciting, it's going to be a LEED Platinum.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Ron.
Next up is Jen. We have again, kind of a July photo project she'll talk more about. It's basically because of July's Parks and Recreation Month. We're trying to do a few things this year, something new to add social media into the mix.
Chair Nolan, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Jen Fletcher, Marketing Supervisor. And as Ben said, we've got an exciting new project that we're launching in July, in addition to the bridge, because I guess we didn't feel like we had enough to do, so. So how many of you, by just a quick show of hands, have ever been to a Disney park or a theme park or anything like that? Anyone? Okay, so you're kind of familiar with the photo picture spots that they have around the park? So what these are designated spots throughout the properties that the owners have deemed very scenic or photogenic. So this year, as like every year, NRPA, National Park and Recreation Association, puts a theme for Park and Recreation Month. And this year, it's Out is In. So to follow that, we've put together a program that we're encouraging people to get out, use the parks, and share their pictures of their adventures while they're out there. So each day in July, we have what we're doing is that day's different photo spot. It's at various locations across the park system, trails, cemeteries, other bridges, different locations. And we're going to encourage everyone to post their pictures on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram with the hashtag #DMPhotospot. So for those at home and you guys here as well, we've got the URLs for the different social networks. We'll also, if people aren't social media friendly, they can always email them into us at parks@dmgov.org, again with the photo spot tag. Each day we'll pick a random winner from those submitted, just boat rental, bike rental, or pool pass. So we'll get those out as well. And the goals that we have for the project are just to increase awareness and exposure of our facilities, increase our engagement on our social media networks, and this is kind of selfish, but build up our photo library for the annual report and other projects. Any questions?
Great idea.
Let's
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We expect some board member participation, so go out and tag yourself in some of those photos where you're at in the park system.
Selfies.
Selfies.
Yeah. Or trees, whatever.
Thanks, Jim.
They might want it.
You don't want us?
I don't think they're on.
Misunderstood.
Next, Marlene's up, and we had a little hint earlier on a new online presence we have for cemetery genealogy.
Double-clicked it.
You can close that, yeah. You just close that.
What I was wanting to do was bring up the slide that was prepared for the website itself, and it's supposed to be on Bridge Event, but it's not. So I will just go to the, that's okay, I'll just go to the website itself. So what I wanted to show you, maybe Rebecca, could you open up the overhead? Just in the event of something like that, I brought a hard copy of that slide. This is, as Chair Nolan, members of the board, Marlene Anderson, Park and Recreation Supervisor, this is what Richard was referring to when he said our fantastic new cemetery database. And it's located, the IT department developed this. It's located at cemeterysearch.dmgov.org. And this covers the interments, the burials in all of our city cemeteries, which are those that are listed up here. Some of the public is a little confused. They think that they can go here and look anywhere in the country or in the world, like Ancestor.com for a location. So I do want to point that out specifically. So with this now, rather than people having to come into our office or call our office for a location for genealogy searches or relatives or whatever, they can simply go to this website, and I'll let Rebecca switch it to the computer screen. So what you find when you go there, and this is on the web, it's also on the city's website itself, you can either search by all cemeteries that we have, or you can search by an individual cemetery. So what I'm going to do in the way of demonstration for you tonight is to show you at Glendale Cemetery. My husband, Rob Beatty's parents are buried there. So I didn't want to be looking up on the television screen with somebody else's relatives, and so I got his permission to do that with my mother and father-in-law. So I'm going to look up for you the Beattys and in Glendale Cemetery in particular. There are some also at Woodland Cemetery, but you see that all I'm doing at this point, all I've put in so far is Glendale and then the Beatty last name, and what it has done now is brought up all of the Beattys who are buried in Glendale Cemetery. My father-in-law, who I never knew, was buried at Glendale in 1970 at the age of 57. And so I am able to identify that because my husband has told me of his early age. And so if I go to that particular Robert Beatty, you see that it brings up his age, his date of interment. I can either go here to the PDF of the cemetery itself, and that location was in block 31. So I can identify within Glendale Cemetery right here is the location of block 31. The other option I have is to go to the layout of the map of the city. A lot of people, I ran into a lady at Woodland Cemetery a week ago. She was here from California and had been at Glendale spending a lot of time, and then she was at Woodland spending a lot of time researching all of her husband's relatives. And so this would be helpful for her, you see. This actually shows you the location of that cemetery. All of our cemeteries are located in the same manner, depending on where you choose to look. So if I were to go back to the original, I can then bring up my, my husband's grandparents are buried in block 30. And I can look on here and see that they're in the same adjacent area to my husband's, my father-in-law's location. So I would be able to map out my search in the cemeteries. So you can bring up, you do not have to enter the birth dates and death dates and things of that nature if you have some clue. My clue was that my father-in-law died at an early age, and so I was able to help select which Robert Beatty there was. So if people know the specific information of burial date, then they're able to look that up. So it's really a great new tool. During the Memorial Day holiday, we had as many as 300 people looking up locations in a single day, which is not tremendous, but that's 300 phone calls or people that aren't coming into our office. And so, of course, we have downsized our staff, and this is really frees up the people our staff in order to address people in person. Any questions?
Yes, this is a tremendous amount of, how many people do we have buried?
About 150,000. Over 100,000 at Glendale alone are buried in our cemeteries.
The input on this must have taken,
Right, what we had to do before this could be done, our Saturday person in particular, our Saturday cemetery staff person has spent the last 2 years going through the database and cleaning up the database because there were ZZZs and 000s and things of that nature. So searching for all of those and eliminating that kind of information from the database in order to be able to then put it online.
You know, this is one of the things we want to do department-wide is automate. We first started with the recreation side where you could reserve a shelter or register for a program. We knew that we needed to do this, and one thing that I'm proud to tell you that this was built in-house by our IT department, this particular cemetery online function. It started with the vision that we had. We came to them and we said, you know, with having less staff, what can we do? And we researched ourselves what's out there off the shelf, so to speak. And we found a couple of things that we'd like to look into, and we are right now. We actually have a crew of our department and IT folks looking at taking it a step further down the road where you could actually see which plots are open. So maybe you could take the time you come to our office and narrow that down because you already have an idea of 3 or 4 places you might be interested in purchasing for your final resting place instead of us taking you all through the cemetery. So I guess we look forward to getting that completed in the near future too and then bringing that back.
I think this is remarkable. I really do.
Yes. We've been really focusing on the customer service side of cemeteries. They're hard to navigate if you're not from here, or even if you are from here. They're so large, you would have no idea. So 2 years ago, Marlene came through and put some nice new block signage up at all of our cemeteries. It's easy to follow. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for the general citizen of why you call this one 31, this one 30, then you jump to 5, then you jump to A, and so we try to get those maps on there. So.
I knew that was a requirement because I myself, the previous Memorial Day, had circled around for a half hour in Glendale Cemetery, well, like a mouse in the maze, trying to find some locations. And so it is a maze.
The great thing is we can track the usage because the website allows us to do that. So over the next 3 years, this is a benchmark year, then we'll start benchmarking about and see if it's growing as the word gets out. So if you know anybody that's looking, send them this way.
Is there anything out there around the country that has like a kiosk type setup at cemeteries where you can actually look while you're there?
Right. If you go to the Veteran Cemetery in Earlham, that's exactly what you'll find. They have a kiosk inside of their foyer area, and that's where the staff refers you to for lookup. And this is exactly the kind of system that they have. You can look up a person's name, and then it tells you what the location is, and then it brings up a map just like this, and you would look for C or F or whatever it would be. And then the difference is that in a military cemetery, they're in chronological order, and so you would know what the birth date, the death date in particular is what's important, and you would know what that is, and then you could figure that out. In our cemeteries, there is an order like that in our veteran sections and in our non-select sections and in the baby infant sections. But other than that, they're in whatever people selected for their locations. And so after you get to the right block, then you're looking. and there's a number on all of the different graves. So I think it was 107 on the Beatty name that I had up. And so you would say to yourself, okay, that would be pretty much at an edge, and you're going in accordingly. And then also we have maps in the office, and you can get more particular that breaks down the individual blocks and get a better idea for it.
And we realize everybody doesn't have cell phones with them when they're out there too, so we are talking about a kiosk that you could use at least the two largest cemeteries to start off, Laurel Hill and Glendale first. And because we have offices there, we have infrastructure in place with electrical and everything we need, so.
Right,
How long is it before you, obviously this has to be updated daily, or?
It does automatically. Every burial that's put in is just automatically updated.
Feeds into the system, so.
Right. I was working outside of the Abbey by myself on Mother's Day and on Memorial Sunday, and I was able to assist people by just asking them if they had a smartphone and then giving them the website, and they're able to look it up because there's wireless at Glendale, and they're able to look it up. And so there was a big spike on those dates because of all the lookups that were going on. And we've got signage indicating this too. So that's one reason why we wanted to show it to you folks, because that all the more helps promote it.
Marlene, I have a confession to make.
Don't
Not
tell
all the
me that
information
you've
at
never been-
Glendale is accurate. I was a trustee for a neighbor lady, and she requested, and I complied, and I lied on her tombstone. She didn't want anybody to know that she was older than her husband.
Oh, that's funny.
So when somebody walks by on the stone, she is not older than her husband, but it is not accurate.
We had a similar situation in my family. My aunt would never say how old she was when she was born, and not until she passed were we able to figure that out. So she was the opposite. Anything else then?
Thank you, Marlene.
You bet.
Wonderful job.
Any other questions for Ben or staff? Okay, we'll move on for board action. And we presented last month's slate of officers for the upcoming year. Lloyd Ogle for vice chair, Dick Thornton, George Davis, and Paula Feltner for the executive committee. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Can I have a motion for approval of the slate as presented?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Nolan,
Yes?
Ogle,
Yes.
Club,
Yes.
Facto,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Scavo,
Yes.
Feltner,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Simonson.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to receive and file.
Yes, we'll have Lee Wheelock come up and give a presentation. He's just done tremendous work on this vision. And before Lee starts, I just want to, two things. It's a receive and file. It won't return next month. We don't take action on these type of things. They're just a site plan, if you will. We stopped calling them master plans a while back just because I think that has some connotation that it's funded and we're going to do this. And that leads into my second point, is that these are great to have. This will be just shy of number 30 for master plans or site plans on the shelf, all at various levels of completion. It started back in 1994. So one piece of criticism the department gets is, how come we're not getting these funded, and why do you keep doing these? Well, we keep doing them for a reason. Now, the funding, the answer is easy. There's just not enough money to go around in the city. But if you don't have a plan, you really can't move forward, and you just never know when somebody's going to come forward with a lead gift, a memorial gift, or some type of sponsorship. And this is a very historic piece of our park system here. You'll hear more about it in a second. I have a very short career in Des Moines, 7, 8 years going on now. I can't tell you a public meeting that I've been to that's been more well-received than both of these meetings. The public up there has just a huge connection to the history of this place. You'll see more and hear more here in a few moments, but just know that we've got a team already kind of looking at how do we privately fundraise, because there is no money right now identified in our 6-year CIP to do anything. So the success of what you're about to see is going to be heavily reliant on private dollars coming in. And if you have ideas, talk us offline. We'd be glad to get your ideas to who we could talk to next. The next big step is to get some sort of a group that's a leadership group. When I look at the Grays Lake model, that was done because we had a core group of 3 to 5 people that were really out there beating the streets and making asks. And as you know, sometimes when we go out as staff, we hear the old sayings, hey, I already gave you tax dollars. Why should I give you more money? So it helps when we have a core group of citizen-led effort like this. So without further ado, Lee.
Chair Nolan, members of the Park and Recreation Board, here tonight Lee Wheelock, Park Planner, here tonight to present Riverview Park Planning Initiative. A little background, December 4th, 2013 was our first public meeting where we took input. We asked neighborhood organizations and folks that lived around the park what they wanted to see. We took that input, generated it into this presentation, and we gave this presentation June 6, 2014.
And I have to say, the public was so pleased that you had listened so carefully to their ideas and thoughts, and they were just so excited that you had really paid attention to them and were coming up with some of the really creative ideas that you have. It was a great meeting.
So this shows a map of where the park sits. Let's see, I'm going to try the mouse. Shake it hard, it comes up. McHenry Park, the Riverview Island, the new core levee. The existing trail is in yellow. The proposed trail is here in purple. Runs all the way down to the existing bridge that crosses the east pond. And also a proposed boardwalk, which was part of the McHenry master plan, that runs down through the wooded area on the wet side of the levee. A little closer image of what we propose and sort of where things sit. Again, the Moines River, the levee comes up through what was the island and the historic location of Riverview Amusement Park. And our design sits on the dry side of the levee of what's left after the levee comes through, what's left after the island after the levee comes through. So we'll start at the top, the proposed trail as it connects to the bridge area. Small playground element. It says repurposed flagpole. It's being used as a flagpole now. It used to be the center of the Cuddle Up ride, if you're familiar with the park. It's the center hub of the old Cuddle Up ride. An amphitheater of some sort. You'll see kind of our concept in the next few slides. The historic precast concrete lampposts are out there on site. They're laying up here at the top of the slide, this concrete area up here. We would try and reuse those and put the lamps back into place. History of the park and a donor plaza right after you come across the bridge. The existing bridge, a parking area off the island over in this area. We want to do a lot of landscape buffer around here to screen us from the industrial use on the other side. These are just sidewalks through here. This trail access from the top of the levee down to the site already exists. The small shelter and lots of open lawn seating. And the existing trail runs this way already. Here's the concept. Again, it shows small playground feature at the far side, the open air amphitheater style building, picnic park shelter that could double as the audio station for larger concerts, and the donor plaza and the bridge is right over here that leads in. This is the existing trail, access to the island. The old inset photo, the old Riverview entrance, I tried to replicate that as you come across the bridge, and I added a little mock piece of the coaster with some mock-up cars over the top to give the illusion of entering. And it's a similar entrance to you see at Arnold's Park up in Lake Okoboji. They enter under a mock piece there, and the donor plaza sits just behind it. Here's the entrance photo again and what it would look like walking across the bridge. I called this out specifically because you don't necessarily see it, but we would add a small aluminum channel that runs down the railing of the existing bridge, and we would do something similar to our Grays Lake plaques where we would sell old tickets to Riverview, and you can put your name or some sort of text on it, just the same way we do at Grays Lake. And the Grays Lake Bridge is full right now. No more plaques being sold. This is the history/donor plaza. You can see an inset to the original roller coaster car. We built something like it there, and a small mock-up of a piece of the roller coaster track that the car would sit on, large Riverview sign behind it, and all those panels in between the two rails would be historical panels about the old rides and the experience of the Riverview Park, and it would also list our donors in that location as well. Here's a shot looking back east across the bridge. It's a two-sided donor/history plaza, similar setups on each side, and that's the reused lamp post there with the historic lamps on top of them. Small concert at the, it's right now, the bandshell's named Riviera. That's the old ballroom that sat on the island in the park. You can see the inset photo there shows the Riviera ballroom. And this amphitheater is made to look somewhat like it, at least the front facade. Here's a picture of the bandshell I got the idea from. Works quite well. We haven't nailed down the exact size or final architecture yet, but it's the concept. The next shelter would be the picnic shelter out in front. It's the coaster enclosure, same architecture as the old coaster enclosure was. That's where you waited in line to get onto the roller coaster. Using the same type of architectural style, just sort of lends itself to the history of the park. And again, it could double as the audio station for larger concerts. Here's the overall plan again, so you can see sort of where everything sits. Here's our estimate. I'll leave this up for just a minute so you can sort of take this in. Again, these are projected estimates. Total project without the trail portion of it would be around $3 million. Again, as Ben said, large private dollar fundraising campaign for this type of a project here. One concern that the neighborhood did, among many concerns that they brought up, was the restrooms. It would be very complicated to get a restroom on the island with flush toilets because you'd have to run the plumbing underneath the bridge, which would freeze in the winter, or you have to run it underneath the lagoon there, which would be very expensive. So we had proposed a restroom building here at the very end of Corning Street where the bridge is already at. Carve a little space out right there where that parking lot will sit, with possibility of flush toilet style restroom in this area. Any questions?
What would be the capacity of the amphitheater with the lawn seating?
Standing room only. It's the capacity of the attendance for an event.
Like a large scale event, how big?
Be hard to estimate.
You know, we really haven't estimated that yet. We wanted to be flexible in case we did find a donor that was interested in having maybe even naming rights, if that would be considered by this council and the board. They could help us decide on the size, and from there we could start to develop what the capacity would be from there. We just didn't get into those details. What I've been telling everybody is we envision something very similar to Simon S. as far as the stage goes, but there's a lot of green space there, and there's a natural amphitheater there too because of the levee. You could sit on the side of the levee, you know, with under certain guidelines and rules we have to protect the levee with, but it's hard to give you a number, but it would be easily over 1,000.
What kind of parking you got on the other side of the bridge?
Currently, it is a gravel lot. It would have to be improved with this project, so you have to look at the land use on that side and see what we could do there.
They already get a few hundred there on the, is it Friday or Saturdays? Yeah, on Friday nights when they do their Rendezvous on the River series, which is the local neighborhood.
We also have a
area park foundation.
lot of parking in the area with the high school and other facilities there. You can bike in because it's right off the trail access. There's a lot of potential for a little bit more distant parking.
So can you go back to a slide that shows the deviation or the separation between the two water areas? And I point this out to you is we've designed this with the intentions of a lot of this would be, flood tolerant, things that could be power washed. On the left side, that's a good picture right there. Go back to the big, the colorful one. There you go. The left side is where the wet side of the levee would be. So that area can flood it. There's a boardwalk. There's a woodland area that's made for that. The river's to the bottom. About right up top, close to where the two, right there, thank you, Lee, there is a valve in there. And today, if you drove by, you'd see this as we prepare for potential high waters. They have a system where they pump water out. Water doesn't go back in when they shut the valve, but water does come in if it rains locally from the neighborhood. All the stormwater sheets off of there and it's piped into the right side here. So we had to be real careful what we design because that area can come up with water, but if we have a pump, we can pump it back over levee, which is an expense, but they already do that now today to protect investments over there on that side. So that was a question we got. I wanted to make sure we were real clear.
Remind me, when they put in the levee, did they take out some of the land that was part of the original island, or?
It actually bisected it. That was
Cuts
one big
right
open
through
area.
the center of the original island.
Yep. This would be.
It was about
right
twice
there,
the
so
size.
the water would have connected like that, Lloyd.
Do they plant fish in those ponds?
They don't now.
We didn't do a water pond survey yet as far as water quality and the fish life. We'd be entertaining that idea because I think that'd be a great
That'd be nice
location.
for the neighborhood.
We don't know how deep
For
it is.
kids.
Yep, absolutely.
I was there today, actually, on the island, counting how many concrete posts, and there were 2 or 3 people fishing in the
Oh, really?
backside.
Lee, point out the parking area that exists now, please.
Let's see. This is right now a gravel parking lot right here. And the current music event is happening up here in this corner on this paved and grass section here. There are still 3 residences on this block and 2 different businesses on the corner.
That's why we projected the sound toward the south.
Yep, the sound
The
projects.
sound will still carry in many directions, but most of it we projected out.
Is that Prospect Park further up?
Prospect is
McKinley.
over here.
Right.
McHenry's up the hill, Prospect's across the river.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, you were at the public meeting, I didn't hear one negative comment, and that doesn't happen very rarely when you take a big idea out like this. Now, the hard part is, start finding the financing. Any comments for us? Did we hit the mark? Any thoughts for us as far as the board considers?
I think this is more than a park, it's economic development for an area that I think is ripe for redevelopment for the city. So not only should they consider funding, it'd be a catalyst again to, I think, the total redevelopment of an area that's open for it.
I don't think we should underestimate parking needs. I could see this being very popular in trucks with tents, and how do you access this with equipment? Would you drive off the trail?
There's a spot to the south that will show you. I don't know if your map will go that far out or not, but.
Map goes almost that far. Corning is here, the next one to the south. Let's see.
There you go.
It's behind the cold storage
here.
building. There's a
Yep.
road,
There's a
a
cold
gravel
storage
road
building.
that goes up to the trail.
And you have to expand this little corner of the trail right there for a turning truck, but it can make it. And the bridge is 10 feet wide. We'd have to do a structural study on what its weight capacity is. We don't expect vehicular traffic across that bridge. But
Well,
in
you
an
have
emergency
signage
situation.
over it, so that's not
Oh, yeah.
terribly tall either.
Yep, my sign will go over the top.
Is there any thought this would create some redevelopment opportunities on the edge of the industrial area on the edge?
We certainly have seen that in other places where we've done great park projects. It just kind of like Board Member Mosen was talking about, it just spurs it. It takes some time. If we go first, usually development follows.
I can't remember. What are those 2 businesses?
Cold storage is one of them.
Pot Off Foods? is in-
Yeah, pot off.
Oh, okay.
Pot Off Foods?
Because when you do the trail, you
And
don't necessarily see it.
As much as 3 million sounds big to the general public, 3 million is not a lot considering what we see for prices when we use the public bid system. So
It doesn't
it's
sound enough to me.
Yeah, we inflated them. So, and remember, these are all based upon, we want some flexibility in our design, so we could add to it. We backed out, remember, it's 3.8 if you add the trail connections in. We thought it'd be fair because the trail system's different than the park development, so it's 3.8 with the trail system put in.
Well, and you put that with McHenry Park, the way it's turned out, that is really a nice flow corridor.
And do I understand the neighborhood association has already begun fundraising for this?
They're pledging their concert series funds to help us get started here, and we just need to, get your feedback tonight and then start this little core group to help us make the ask.
How much parking is there at McHenry? I know it's on top of the hill,
Yeah,
but it's still
there's
accessible.
parking up there too, absolutely. 20 to 30 stalls
Not a lot,
approximately.
but
They're pulling that concert series off right now by using that gravel lot as well as neighborhood parking. It will add to the parking congestion in the area, but it's a good problem to solve once you're there, I think.
And that will be access to the south for emergency. We have 10,000 people, ambulance.
Absolutely. So what we do is we do like what we call it a pre-app. When we have a design like this, before we go to the public, we work with engineer and fire and police to say, hey, look at this design. Are we missing anything before we show the public? So we don't want to build expectations, say, oh, guess what? We can't do this now, so.
Their only questions the other night were, what happens first?
Yeah.
What gets started?
Yeah, I think everybody wants the amphitheater band shell piece to go first. And it's primed for a big gift to have name rights to that, I would think. We're excited. Just got to find the money now. And if there's no comments here, we'll keep marching forward.
Very nice.
Do I have a motion to receive and file?
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Just want to overlook that this is something that we did in-house. And a lot of times, we certainly could have hired somebody to do this if we had the resources. So we're pretty proud that, one person on our team, and we have a great team, as you know, that Lee was able to dig in and find the history and take the vision all. We gave him a few guiding principles, but what you see is all Lee's work. So we're proud of our team.
I think also giving Lee some more accolades. He was very instrumental in Columbus Park, which is just a great addition to the neighborhood. And in fact, one of the problems now is overcrowding, but you really do great work. This was a great presentation.
And McHenry, too.
Ben, we were in a meeting the other day, and at some point it would be nice to, you had talked about a concept of kind of how we have these park and rec cultural hubs with the Riverwalk, and this is a potential one, and you pointed a few others out on the map, and maybe kind of nice sometime to take a step back and bigger picture and kind of see these different areas where we're kind of developing this synergy, and that this is just one of a couple of them that you've identified.
Next month, we'll be back with McCray, and there was no reason other than we want to try to keep your time to a manageable amount tonight. We have a couple of things, but McCray's got some great momentum you'll hear more about next month, too. So you're right, we have a lot of areas that we're working on right now. We just need to hit that big check somewhere with the lottery, I guess. So.
I think you're doing the right things, is, do the vision work and help lay the vision and inspire some people to do some things, and it's nice to see.
All right, cemetery fees. As you know, we pledged to you about 2 years ago when we came in with some pretty substantial cemetery fees, because we hadn't done that work in a while to evaluate not just cemetery fees, but park and rec fees in general on a very regular, if not yearly basis. And sometimes we have a number, and sometimes we'll have just a little bit, but we're right on the heels of tonight. We'll be bringing recreation fees next time for upcoming season. Before we get too far along, I'd just like to point out that, Max Nauer is here, your longtime chair of your cemetery advisory committee. Don't have enough nice words to say about Max and the time he puts into not just cemeteries, but he and his wife both are active and avid park and recreation advocates. So thank you, Max, for all you do for us as a volunteer and a citizen of Des Moines.
Thank you.
And if you have questions, it might be great to start after we look at the communication. You see the charts. We can do one of two ways. We can give you an overview, or you can take them question by question. I know cemetery fees are very elaborate and very detailed. We could spend a lot of time having, staff go over that, or you can just ask us questions.
Is there any way we could expedite this by taking the fees, rather than going through individually, taking them and just maybe highlighting the fees that are raised, and the board can certainly throw a percentage out there, but if it's raised, say 25% or more, then we can individually look at that. Other than that, can we just approve this as one swoop? Paula, what would you suggest?
Oh, I think that would be great too, because we all have seen these.
Okay.
So I think it would be a good idea to approve it, and then just, if there are questions on any specific increases that people have, ask.
I would make a motion that we approve these as written, and questions can be open for anything above what would be fair. I'd say a 25% increase or a 20% increase.
Do I have a second?
Second? I'll second that.
Are there questions, or should we go ahead and receive and file? And then there's questions for Marlene. We can bring
I
her
guess
up.
just a real quick one. A lot of these now, we're seeing ranges in prices as opposed to just a set price, and I think you talked about this conceptually, why you were doing that you were kind of emphasizing certain areas might be more preferable, and so there's a range as opposed to just a set price for any given type of interment.
Right. Chair Nolan, Marlene Anderson, Park and Recreation Supervisor. Yes, amenities and location and quantity are all considerations. So when you see a range, and I will use the lower portion of Block M, which is really on the shore of the pond. Those locations that are closest to the pond and closest to the roadway that goes past that pond will be the most expensive. As you go into the middle of that area of that block, you will come to the lower portion of that range. As you're by the upper portion of that lower section to the walkway, you will again come to the more expensive portions of that range.
Before it was the
So-
same price, just anywhere.
Pardon me?
Before it was just the same price anywhere within that.
Right, everything, the way it used to be, everything in that block was the same price. And as pointed out in the communication, there are no perimeter locations left in the upper part of Block M. There are no walkway spaces available in Block M. There are no locations on the lower part of the upper part of Block M, because those are the first ones that are sold. And so they were all sold at the same price. Now, we will bring in more revenue for those locations. It's real estate. You know, if you're on a golf course, you would pay more for the spaces, for the lots that are right on the edge of the course, or lakeshore property, or whatever it might be. If you get a block away from it, then it goes up. So if you were to, you might recall when we introduced pricing for the new columbarium, and some of you were not a part of this board a year ago when we introduced those rates, you'll see that there are 9 different prices for those columbarium. The ones that are closest to the pond are higher. The ones that are at the top of the 5 layers are higher priced. The ones in the middle, the ones toward the roadway. It's a concept called differential pricing, and you can look it up in the dictionary. It's a marketing concept. You can look it up in any marketing book. Pricing is a very, very important part of marketing. It's a basic premise of marketing. Excuse me, of marketing. So,
Good.
does that explain it to you? That, right? So evermore, you're going to see ranges as we open up new areas. Ranges. Until we run out of the range.
Max, do you have anything that you would like to add from your cemetery committee?
No, I'm here just to answer any specific questions you might have. One of the things that we've seen, again, as I've indicated before this board, is that our current administration is doing a spectacular job. And I think that's partially due to Marlene and Deanna, but also due to Ben's giving that range, which is necessary, as well as the guidance.
Thank you.
So a general reminder, more for the public than the board, because you know the process, by now, because if this goes through, we have another park board meeting, and then we have up to 3 readings with the city council. So that takes about 2 to 3 months, depending on if council waives ratings. So those that are interested in buying, it's kind of a little incentive if these do go through.
So you're saying if they want to beat the price increase, there's you need to do it quickly.
2 messages, location, 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 and then buy now is our message.
Really, that the buy now is important. Also, that's a marketing tool. And so we will be announcing the prices about a month ahead of time, and they'll go into effect September 1st. One thing that's very important that I want to point out to you, though, is that the range is established. We have maps of the different blocks that have color coding on them that show what the prices are, which spaces are 3,800, which spaces are 3,900. It's not that we just arbitrarily set it, and you don't come in and barter with us, of course, when you come in. So they're very specifically outlined on the city's schedule that's a part of the ordinance. So this is not nearly as complicated as what we provide to Andy Donato to make a part of the ordinance. And that's actually what then is approved.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Marlene. A couple of You have a sheet on, before you about an event this Friday at Columbus Park. If any of you can attend, it's at 11:30, and there'll be a ribbon cutting for all the amenities that have been added to Columbus Park. So if any of you can be there, we'd appreciate that. And then I would like to say a big thank you to the Friends of the Des Moines Parks for the golf event that they did on Friday. It was very well attended, and lots of happy people out there. It was great to see, and thank you for all the board members that, participated in it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do we have any numbers, or does anybody have details of it, or?
I just know that they're in the process of compiling what they realized, but it was a wonderful, how many golfers?
96 golfers at the end of the
96
day. And
golfers.
capacity's 144 for an event like that.
I think there were that many volunteers helping with it, too.
Yeah.
So-
And by the way, the park staff, fabulous job. They all were out there working, and it was hot. And I thought that was great, too. It was really a good event. A lot of people said, well, actually, we have a couple of golfers here. A couple of our park board members golfed, and you can tell us what you thought of it. Did you think it was a good event?
Absolutely.
And did your guests enjoy it?
They had a great time.
I had good feedback from our teams that were there, too.
Great.
Yeah, and good city council turnout.
Yes, 5 out of 7.
Mike
City council.
Simonson was well represented. I didn't win first
Yes.
place, but thank you, too.
Thank you.
It was really good, it was a really good event, and I attended and had a great time and plan to do it every year. It was
Great.
a home run, man, it was a good time.
And I will say, as a member of the golf committee, anytime you take up one of the city golf courses, I think that's great exposure for our golf courses. And the people at Waveland did a good job as well,
They did.
I thought.
Great job, their staff.
So thanks to them.
Ned Shido, I think, really works well with Park and Rec, and he really dressed to the nines on this one. I thought he did a great job in there.
Does anyone else have anything for the good of the board? Our next event, we'll see you, all of you that can attend, July 12th for the bridge event. So hope to see some of you there. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
You make the minutes.
All those in favor? Did your group have fun?
Oh, yeah, I had a blast.
Oh, good.